Thanks for hitting the rewind button. I'm Dow. This is Neil joining me again as co-host this evening. And Neil, you're kind of dressed up for the occasion. What's going on?
Hey Dow, this episode we're talking about the X-Files again.
Yes, one of my favorite shows in the 90s and early 2000s, and then a brief reprise, maybe 10-ish years ago?
Yeah, wow, has it been that long?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But everything seems like it happened 10 years ago these days.
That's very true.
We were initially going to talk tonight about the director's cut of the 2008 film X-Files, I Want to Believe. The show had been over for, I guess, about 6 years at that point, and they made this standalone Monster of the Week movie to kind of be a bookend, give fans one more romp with the X-Files. And it was not well received. We'll talk about everything in a minute, but the director, Chris Carter, who was the show's creator also, always wanted to go back and add some scenes in. And he finally said last year on David Duchovny's podcast,
Fail Better.
Great podcast if you haven't listened to it.
Indeed.
I don't know if they're making new episodes or not, but for a while, David was talking to some interesting guests, including Gillian Anderson, his co-star from The X-Files, and Chris Carter in subsequent episodes. And Chris revealed that Fox had greenlit a director's cut and he was going back in the editing booth. And then we learned a few weeks ago that that was supposed to be dropping on Disney Plus as a bonus feature for The X-Files, I Want to Believe. But then the day of, there was some chatter on different entertainment websites saying that there were some technical issues that needed to be resolved before it could actually make its way onto the streaming platform. There's no word on what those technical issues are, but my gut instinct is right now it's part of the Amazon Prime catalog. It's where you can find the standalone X-Files I Wanted to Believe. So my gut feeling is until it becomes part of Disney Plus's catalog again, we're not going to see that.
From X-Files creator Chris Carter.
Scully?
Mulder?
Comes the next chapter.
There.
Oh, God.
In the phenomenon that started it all.
Listen.
I know I was really looking forward to it because the movie came out, and then when it came to physical media, i.e. DVD and Blu-rays, that there was an extended cut
Right.
on that added a little bit. But I was really, really looking forward to the director's cut because Chris Carter was talking about adding in more of what he had to take out to make it PG-13 and hit that rating and check all the right boxes that he didn't necessarily want to check.
Right. Allegedly, this cut is going to be a lot darker, a lot scarier, which I was excited about because the movie, it's a monster, like we said, it's a Monster of the Week standalone story. And it's set in this cold climate, harsh winter, and there's a couple of different storylines happening. But the main monster storyline is this kind of Frankenstein monster who's operating and abducting women.
He's trying to live forever.
Yeah.
Or continue to live because he's sick.
There's some kind of illness, and they explain it in the movie. And you can see all his experiments in the exposition. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it again before tonight's show because we pivoted. So there's a lot that I don't remember because it's probably been about 10 years since I've watched it.
He's essentially trying to graft his head onto someone else's body.
I remember that part.
To prolong his life.
Yeah, that was some terrifying footage. And just what they did show was kind of gut-wrenching in that film.
Yeah, and I was hoping for more of that in the director's cut, but alas, we are left without.
We are still waiting for that cut, but we decided to pivot and talk about a few of our favorite X-Files monsters. So some of the most memorable characters from the show were the monsters of the week. I know we've talked about the X-Files before, but it was this sci-fi / horror series launched in 1993, starring David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. Gillian. That's what I thought. And they played this mismatched pair of FBI agents. He was he being David Duchovny's character, Fox Mulder. Pronouns, pal. That's another podcast joke. If you listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, apparently that's something Vince McMahon used to say to his wrestling announcers. Don't use pronouns, use their names, pal. Pronouns, pal. So David Duchovny played Fox Mulder. His whole life was kind of changed when his sister got abducted by aliens, or so he believed, when he was a child. And that it was something. And it set him on this path of learning about all these obscure paranormal things and being open to believing it when someone else said, I saw this thing that nobody else believes. And Scully, played by Gillian Anderson, was originally paired with Mulder to discredit his work. And then over the course of several seasons began to not necessarily believe, but be open to the mysteries of the universe herself.
Possibilities of what could be, the possibilities of the truth being out there.
So yeah, the truth being out there was one of the truth is out there is one of the taglines of the show.
And one of the other taglines is "I want to believe," which is Mulder's whole crusade. He doesn't believe, but he wants to. So he wants to believe all these things, and in doing that, then he'll be able to find his sister.
Right. He almost feels like if he opens his mind to it, if he does follow these things down, it'll lead him to that spaceship in the sky where
Spaceship in the sky, that's right.
that took away his sister Samantha.
Which it kind of does later on if you follow the series.
Great series, lasted originally 9 seasons. He does get some answers throughout, and it gets really muddy. The whole alien conspiracy takes some wild turns. And I know Chris Carter said he wanted the show to be about the Human Genome Project. So there's a lot of that kind of works this way. And I feel like it got very muddy sort of season 6 and afterwards with the alien conspiracy.
9 seasons, how is it not going to get a little muddy?
True.
Let's be honest.
It takes a wild turn when we're talking about alien human hybrids and super soldiers created for the military. And it ends on some, I guess it was a fitting end for the show, but I feel like they could have taken it in some other directions. But there's a chance that the X-Files will be returning. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. So maybe there's hope that we'll get to see some different directions in the series or the next iteration of the series down the road.
Is the truth still out there?
Dun, 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 dun. That's not the theme at all.
Monsters of the Week is sort of the B-side to the A-side anthology of Mulder trying to find his sister and the whole alien conspiracies and all that. They were standalone episodes, so you didn't need to be up to date with the latest episodes and follow the latest arc, because these were 40-minute mini monster movies.
Sort of like an anthology horror story. They were it's a different case every week, a different one-off villain or monster. And a lot of those were fun because, like you said, you didn't have to get bogged down with what the heck is happening? Who's this guy? Who's popping up?
Right.
How should I know this person? Because if you weren't watching every week in the 90s, it's not like it's on demand like it is today where you can go back and say, oh, that guy's Krychek. He's one of the villains.
Right.
It's just, who's this random guy and why is he so evil to Mulder?
And you couldn't rewind back then, so if you come in 15 minutes in, oops.
Yeah, the cold opens were always critical parts of the X-Files. So much was relayed in that first 2 minutes before the credits.
Right.
Especially in the conspiracy episodes. If you missed, or the mythology conspiracy, I always called them the conspiracy episodes, but I think technically they were the mythology episodes. Yeah. If you missed that, you were kind of at a loss for the rest of the show because you're like, okay, what are they even doing? What is this about? But the Monsters of the Week, there were some I forget how many Monster of the Week episodes, over 100, I believe.
Sure. It was a lot.
It was a lot. That was back when TV series were 24, 28 episodes a season.
Yeah.
So you
There's
get
a lot of files here. That's a big filing cabinet, kids.
it is a that was one of my favorite things about one of the opening episodes of the season, when you see the files in the basement and it's just these
How it just pans back and it's just
massive array of file cabinets.
going and going. And the first monster of the week that I chose was Tombs, which is season 1, episode 3, the, in fact, first monster of the week and the first monster of the whole series.
Yeah, the episode was Squeeze, and they're investigating some grisly killings where this killer is coming in and out of tight spaces and like tearing open the bodies of his victims with his bare hands and removing the liver, and we'll find out eating the liver. We talked about the cold opens of the show. This one was a really memorable one for me because it just takes place. This guy's in his office, he's working late, and then all of a sudden the camera pans over to the air conditioning vent in the corner of the wall, and you see the screws start to back themselves out. And then that terrifying rumble. What were some of your favorite moments in this episode?
Just seeing his yellow eyes in the shadows or in the other side of the grate, it's like, how did you fit? But that's one of his superpowers, if you will, is that he can squeeze, hence the title of the episode, in small spaces, which when you're saying it, it doesn't sound creepy or like it would work in anything like this. It's kind of like Stretch Armstrong.
Right.
It's like, how is that creepy? But it is.
But when you're looking over the air vent in your room while you're watching this as a kid, and you imagine this monster,
These yellow eyes
Yeah.
peering back at you.
and then squeezing its way out to attack you, pretty terrifying.
Indeed. And his whole shtick was he needs to take your liver in order to regenerate himself, and because that's what the liver does. And that's how he eats. That's how he survives. That's his sustenance, is your liver.
Right. I believe he goes through 30 years periods of hibernation. So he's been in the show, he's been active for like almost 100 years at this point. And he's gone through several cycles where they investigate throughout the episode where he's killed several people and then gone dormant. And so he's, I believe, a couple of victims away from wrapping up this cycle. And then they said, then if he went active again, if they didn't catch him, it'd be 2023 before he went at it again.
Is it 3 people a cycle? 3 livers that he needs every...
That sounds right, because he killed 2 people, and then they were trying to find him before he killed the third.
And one of my favorite things is that this episode actually features one of the shots in the intro, the sort of stepped frame shot where they're coming in the door and Mulder's got his gun and it's like stepping through frames. You get to see it in all its 24 frame glory in this episode.
I noticed that too. It's I believe in the opening credits, it's kind of a slowed down shot, the door opening and then stepping in, but you really get to see it. That was always fun for me, like as a kid too, especially in like cartoons. If you were watching an episode of a cartoon and it was one of the shots from the opening credits and you're like, I know that.
Right.
So that was fun to see. They set up a lot of the recurring themes that we'd get to see a lot later on in this show, with the agents being separated, there being a threat to Scully in her home. We didn't get to see a Mulder chase in this one. That was another recurring theme where he's chasing the monster in a dark building, a dark alley, a dark something.
No, but he does fight the monster, so
yeah,
you're almost there.
The scene where Toombs goes after Scully. So there's this, they track him down his nest where he kind of builds this
It's kind of like an insect, right?
Yeah, like a wasp or I don't know what kind of bug, but he uses the liver secretions and other objects to build like a cocoon that he, I guess, sleeps in for the next 30 years. He must own the building, or else no one's checking on his rent and utilities.
Clearly.
That part's not quite explained.
It's been an abandoned building for quite a long time.
It wouldn't last in today's market. They'd be scooping it up and bulldozing him down. He'd be under
Very
He'd
true.
be under the rubble in the landfill somewhere to get that prime real estate.
And this episode actually features Donald Logue, who some of you may know as Harvey Bullock from Gotham,
Yep.
or Sean Finity from Grounded for Life.
Does this look like the work of Little Green Man?
Gray.
Excuse me?
You said green men. A reticulant skin tone is actually gray.
When I saw his name in the opening credits as a guest star, I was looking for him, didn't realize that's who he was. He plays another FBI agent who brings Scully into the fold for this investigation. He always usually kind of plays a condescending prick who knows it all,
Yeah.
but he got his roots doing that in this episode, I feel like.
Indeed. And the case of Eugene Toombs is actually his, and he just can't find any leeway with it, and Mulder comes on board, and it's right up Mulder's alley, so...
And then they quickly have some words, and we get some witty Fox Mulder banter. There's some good lines. You mentioned it earlier where Donald Logue's character is like, this one's a little bit more down to earth.
Right. Since Scully is very new to the X-Files, since this is only the third episode, everyone is kind of making fun of her and everything about working with Mulder and his beliefs in the paranormal.
And he's got a nickname, Spooky, that they reference a few times in this episode. So that's how his peers view him. They nickname him Spooky, and I think he's even got some interesting dialogue where he's just spouting off facts he's making up about little gray men, not green men.
Not green. Sorry, buddy.
Little gray men and their home planet, and he's just clearly being facetious, but no one quite knows how to read him yet because it's still early on in the show. I thought Toombs, the casting was great. It's Doug Hutchinson, and the same actor who played, Doug Hutchison, same actor who plays Percy in The Green Mile. So he was kind of a villain in that movie as well. He really plays that kind of sinister,
Speedy,
yeah,
kind of greasy kind of characters really well, yeah.
And you're right, the eyes.
The yellow eyes, like he didn't have a lot of expression. He would just stare at you with these yellow eyes.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense, though. Liver toxicity makes your skin yellow, makes your eyes yellow. So it was a good fit for the scariness of the character. I also appreciated watching this, how simple it was. I believe there was only one special effects shot where we actually get to see him squeeze and
his arm elongates.
Yeah, when he reaches down a chimney to claim his second victim.
Everything else is just in camera or shot quickly, and it works. And frankly speaking, I wish
more of that would be done.
TV shows and everything would go back to that, because it works.
There's something about just a good dimly lit set and just some good storytelling techniques in camera that's really effective, that I really enjoyed seeing, especially in these earlier episodes that we're going to talk about tonight.
Indeed. And one of my favorite things is Mulder finding a stretched fingerprint to which they can't match it to anything because nobody has a fingerprint that long, until Mulder uses a very sort of rudimentary software and stretches it, and it's a match for Eugene Toombs.
Eugene Toombs was a character that did return again later in season 1, episode 21 in Toombs, where he escapes and they have to track him down again. This episode ends, we're talking about Squeeze still, ends with him in captivity, and he's in a holding cell, and the guard squeezes in the meal tray through a little slat in the door, and it ends.
He's tearing up a newspaper and licking it, making a new nest while this is happening, because that's just what he does. He's going to hibernate in this cell, and
then he realizes there's a way out.
Just enough room for him to, what's the word?
Squeeze through.
Like he did in the other spots in the show, and exact his revenge or feed or just escape.
The X-Files did a good job of leaving you on a, not always. We'll talk about one or two.
They're not all gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one was really well really well executed, especially that ending where, is he going to get out? Is he not? That fear that it's not over was a nice touch.
It awakens once every 30 years to kill.
Undetermined points of entry. Each victim had their liver removed.
But this time,
Position 10 requesting backup.
2 FBI agents
Oh my God, Mulder.
will be waiting for it.
So when I think of X-Files monsters, the first one that always comes to my mind is the Fluke Man, who you can see over our shoulders here.
And is quite terrifying,
He is quite terrifying.
even for 90s makeup.
Season 2, episode 2, The Host. The cold open on this one takes place on this Russian freighter ship. And wouldn't you know it, the plumbing has some problems. And this young guy named Dmitri gets the unfortunate, smelly task of opening up the septic system to
Poke around and see what's going on.
Yeah, and as he's doing so, something pulls him inside and attacks him, and the ship's captain orders the tanks to be purged, so it sends whatever attacked Dmitri into the sea. They end up washing ashore in a New Jersey, or Dmitri ends up washing ashore in a New Jersey sewer, which is where Fox Mulder gets called in. So at this point in the show, the X-Files had been closed. Fox and Dana had been reassigned, and this was his first call back to action after that happened.
To which he's not happy about, because he's in a sewer looking at a dead body.
Right. So he thinks he's getting the quote unquote shit into the stick here, and just getting his nose rubbed in it. Doesn't think it's an X-File, doesn't think it's worthy of his attention. However, his boss, Walter Skinner, who at this point, we don't know if he's friend or foe. He's always antagonistic, or
It varies.
Yeah. At least at this point of the show, kind of knows a little more than he lets on, and encourages Mulder to stay on it. And as they're investigating, Scully gets brought into the fold, and she says, well, let me just take a look at the body. And she discovers a fluke worm while she's doing the autopsy. And while that's happening, a sewer worker gets attacked while he's performing maintenance on the New Jersey sewer line. And this guy thinks he's been bitten by a python in the New Jersey sewer system.
Mm-hmm.
I guess stranger things have happened.
Maybe.
So Mulder gets called to the doctor's office, where this guy tells him his story.
And then when we see the wound on his back, it doesn't quite look like a snake bite.
No, I believe it's like 5 prongs in a triangular shape.
Round. It's a round sort of bite.
With several little prongs around the edges, where I got those teeth that you see in
Yeah.
the shot behind us.
There's a name for it,
in.
and neither one of us wrote that down. So
Do they name the shape of the wound in there?
it's the mouth that is called something.
Indeed it is.
How they
Yeah, I didn't go that deep in the biology lesson.
I could have made all of that up. He wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, Mulder and another character who I call the sewer master, who's the boss of the sewer system, go into the tunnels to hunt for whatever is responsible for this, see if there's anything there. And wouldn't you know it, in a tank in the middle of the episode, they catch the Fluke Man, this guy, in a tank that they are able to isolate, drain, and then take him into custody. Scully gets her first look at this creature And I'm not sure if it's a holding cell or a psychological institution. There's some sort of cordoned off room that's cell-like that he's in the corner of when she gets her first look at it.
Hiding in the shadows.
Hiding in the shadows.
Like those fluke men do.
And Scully's beginning to put the pieces together on just what's going on. She's doing her own research into the case, and someone who is a friend they have in the FBI who we don't know, we haven't been introduced to yet, but we've only heard his voice on the phone, slides a sort of a National Enquirer-esque tabloid magazine under her office door, which tells the tale of terror on the sea with this Russian freighter. So she's going down her own rabbit hole of investigation, tracking that down. Meanwhile, this monster is going to be transferred to another institution.
Michael Myers style.
Michael Myers style, strapped down in a U.S. Marshals ambulance, I guess.
With only the driver.
Yeah, no armed guards, no additional backup, no other vehicles following this one. This brand new species that's never been seen before that has killed at least 2 people.
And it's not a small species either. This guy's pretty hefty.
Yeah, man size. No little raccoon creature here. No chupacabra. This is a full on creature, and it's just wild to me that maybe it was just budget at the time for the show. Maybe it was indicative of the U.S. government budget at the time. Maybe it was just the pre 9/11 world that we lived in. But I guess we could just accept that one guy is going to transport this. At least Michael Myers always seemed to have 2 guys in the ambulance with him.
Right.
And so, of course, the fluke man frees himself, attacks the ambulance driver, and escapes. And one of the most horrifying scenes for me is when he makes his escape, they're right near a couple of porta potties in next to this fishing resort or park where people fish.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, there's a sign that's indicating bait and tackle.
Live bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he crawls his way into the porta potties.
Deep into the porta potty.
Deep into the porta potties. And there's this terrifying shot looking down in the toilet seat where you see the fluke man. Yeah.
Looking
back
up at you from the bowl of wow.
And around that same time as a kid, I had heard stories on the news of people finding snakes in their toilets. And so I was terrified of that happening. And then I saw this scene, and I don't think I've ever been able to look at a porta potty the same way since.
Because all you see is that looking up at you.
You don't want to spend too much time looking in there to begin with.
That's for sure. Yeah.
But sometimes whatever is floating on top of that blue water, you have to do a little double take to make sure it's not the fluke man before you take care of business.
Who knew that sentence would be uttered in an X-Files podcast? Wow. Apologies for the squeamish. And Chris Carter actually got this idea of, speaking of squeamish, from his dog having worms while he was reading a story about Chernobyl.
Yeah, that's right. So Scully ends up discovering that this creature grew out of the radioactive contaminated sewer systems in Chernobyl. And the freighter that we saw in the opening scene was kind of handling salvage and other materials that were being moved out of that facility as they were starting to reopen things in the 90s after that nuclear tragedy. And the show ends with Mulder again tracking down this fluke man in the sewer system and
sort of this battle inside the bowels of the sewer system, which thankfully was a set, because they are up to their eyeballs in
nasty water. Yeah, not a fun place to be, but some quick thinking on Mulder. He's able to shut off this, not really a valve, but some kind of gate valve situation that just
On a
chops
big tube as he's trying to crawl out, and he just shuts the door real quick and severs.
the Fluke Man in half. But like a worm, he was able to survive because another terrifying final shot is the Fluke Man's upper torso floating in the water, and there's this slow motion kind of zoom in shot, and when they get to his eyes,
They open
they
up.
open. So presumably the Fluke Man is still out there somewhere
In a porta potty near you.
in a porta potty near you. So make sure you look. You said that you learned that Chris Carter's father actually had a role in building the sewer sets.
That's right. Chris Carter's dad was a construction worker who installed sewer lines and storm drains. So he helped them build the sewer set at the end when they're up to their eyeballs in sewer water.
I love the practical locations and effects on this one too. Practical monster. I love a good practical monster. He's terrifying to look at, but I really appreciated when they're investigating in the sewer system. They're clearly at a water plant or some facility in some of the establishing
fake that.
shots. Yeah. I miss that in a lot of today's everything shot on a sound stage and then animated with whatever you want behind it. It doesn't have that authenticity that these early episodes of the X-Files did.
Real TV had back in the 90s.
Ever wonder what lives beneath your streets?
He was attacked by something down in the sewer.
Friday, Agents Mulder and Scully go looking, and what they find
Oh, God.
will terrify you.
This is not a man, it's a monster.
Nature didn't make this thing. We did.
And all new X-Files, Friday at 9, 8 Central.
And up next is the Uber venture in Arcadia.
Season 6, episode 15. This was a fun one.
Yeah. Mulder and Scully pose as Rob and Laura Petrie, like the dish, as these sort of new neighbors in this uppity neighborhood to investigate the disappearance of the previous owners of the house.
Yeah, apparently there have been several disappearances in this gated uppity community since it opened, and the sheriff's office isn't getting any answers, so they concoct this scheme to bring Mulder and Scully in to find out what's going on. And right away, things are
a little too neat
Yeah.
and too clean and too together.
right away they get told, we have to move you in, I think before 6 o'clock, and it's like 5:30. So everyone from the neighborhood comes over and grabs
A piece of furniture or a box.
a box of fine china that gets destroyed.
China.
Sneakily. Yeah. And it's just, if you've ever lived in a community with an HOA and a really asinine HOA, the absurdity is spot on.
Yeah, indeed it is. And in this episode, they call it the CCRs, the Contracts, Covenants, and Restrictions.
Which is like all the written rules of their homeowners association. And that comes up several times. If you violate those rules, you
just might disappear.
You might disappear.
So Mulder, in his Mulderly fashion, wants to stir the pot, to which he does, and he brings a basketball hoop and is immediately told it has to go in the garage, to which he's not happy about.
Can't be in the yard.
No.
Unsightly, they call it.
So obviously, who's the bad guy in this? It's the HOA president.
As rightfully so. They usually are.
Yeah.
You give them just a little bit of power and they ruin your lives.
Indeed. So in Mulder trying to stir the pot and see what's really going on, he starts small with a pink flamingo in the yard.
Which immediately gets ripped up.
Vanishes.
Yeah, as soon as he turns his back.
Nobody knows. So he goes back out there and kicks over his own mailbox and throws orange juice on it. And then he's sitting at the door.
Waiting, watching.
And waiting. And then nature calls from all the orange juice. And he runs to the bathroom as quick as he can. And when he comes back, the mailbox is upright and dry.
completely fixed.
Yeah, so something's really going on here.
So then that night, he pulls out the old basketball hoop.
And he's shooting some hoops in the middle of the night, like we've all done.
Yeah, and his neighbor runs out, tells him to put it away quickly, and
Or else.
or else. But what the neighbor doesn't realize is he's got a light out on his property, and
Which is a no-no in the
CCR violation.
CCRs, yeah.
And we get our first glimpse. Well, I guess we may have gotten a glimpse or two before, but we get our first good glimpse at this monster, which he's not a very flattering looking monster. You can kind of say this is, I think, I don't think this was actually in the show, but this is from the wiki page for the episode.
Okay.
And they call him the sludge monster, the garbage monster. His actual, I guess, creature definition is tulpa.
Which is a conjured artificial being created through mental or spiritual powers. Kind of like Dougie Jones in the Twin Peaks: The Return.
Which I still,
Spoiler.
yeah, I still need to
Sorry.
watch that one. That's all right. I'll know what's in it for me.
It's been out for years. You guys are fine.
Yeah, I think that's at least 3 or 4 years old at this point. Yeah, the HOA president also is like an executive with not Pier 1 Imports. I think it's Pier 11 Imports.
Something like that.
And he travels to Nepal a lot for his sourcing. And that's where he picked up how to conjure one of these. This one is made out of used motor oil, coffee grounds, all kinds of trash.
Basically, trash. Just garbage. Literal garbage.
And they begin to find some evidence of this stuff at the crime scenes, but Scully kind of dismisses it because she's like, well, this whole neighborhood was built on a landfill, so it doesn't, it's not too out there that some of this stuff might be making its way back to the surface. I did love the Mulder-Scully dynamic. They're, like you said, they're playing a married couple, the Petries. And we get to see them in a little bit of domestic bliss, which is completely out of character for them. Mulder's wearing like bright golf shirts with a cardigan sweater draped over it.
Yeah.
And Scully's just kind of being Scully. But we get to see the banter and the interaction where Fox Mulder's like, we're married now. We can sleep in this bed together.
Right.
And then Scully's kind of giving him a hard time about the toilet seat being up and bringing out the toothpaste container. She's like,
squeezes it like this.
who taught you how to squeeze this?
Toothpaste, yeah.
So there's a lot of fun moments that I really liked, highlighting their relationship and just where they were comfort-wise with each other at that point.
And he says they met at a UFO conference, which is exquisite.
Yeah, they're having dinner with one of the neighbors, and of course the wife of the neighbor asks, how'd you guys meet? And at a UFO conference. And they're both like, well, you don't seem like a guy who believes in that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, it's not me.
Yeah,
It's,
it's Laura over here. She's really into the new age stuff and the crystals and yeah.
Scully just kind of no-sells it with this kind of blank, smiling expression. It's good storytelling.
Indeed.
I wish the monster, I liked this episode a lot just for the HOA absurdity and that domestic bliss.
Yeah.
I wish we would have got to see the monster a little more.
Really?
Well, I mean, I would like to see what he looked like a little more. I didn't feel like we got enough.
I like that though. I like what really was he?
Right. Fair enough. I mean, he kind of looked like
That.
yeah, but you didn't really get to see that at all. You got to see a little bit of his eyes in one shot, and then it was mostly just kind of silhouette, but he was so dark.
That's true.
The silhouette was
A little too silhouette-y.
Good episode, good monster, good pick. Like I said, I just wish we could have seen a little bit more of what was so terrifying.
That's fair.
I guess in the end, it was just the evil HOA owner. It was actually him killing the people, but
Imagine that. A bad HOA. There's a lesson here, kids.
Yeah. Buy a house that's not in an HOA neighborhood. Trust us.
There.
Perfect house.
I'm Rob. This is my lovely wife, Laura.
Perfect neighbors.
If we ever go undercover again, I get to choose a name.
Perfect terror.
Move to the house.
Voted Best Dramatic Series, Best Dramatic Actress and Actor by the readers of Entertainment Weekly. The X-Files, an all-new episode, Sunday at 9 on Fox.
And then my second pick for top monster, not really a monster, but does some pretty monstrous things. It's the Fakir from Badla in season 8. And again, the cold open in this show is set in India at the Mumbai airport. And we see this very overweight businessman who's traveling home, and he's
Eager to get back home.
very eager to get
Get on
back
the
home,
plane.
not very comfortable in his surroundings. And he gets approached by this little legless beggar man who crawls on this squeaking cart. And that's pretty terrifying too. Just the sound that it makes, and just the idea that this little guy is staring at you.
He never talks. He just stares at you while he's wheeling toward you.
And so the businessman makes an offering, tells him to get some WD-40 for his wheels, and then quickly departs to the bathroom inside the airport. And while he's in there taking care of business, that seems to be a trend in my picks tonight, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't put that together until now.
I didn't either until right now. He's in there taking care of business, and he hears that squeaking again, and then he looks under the gap at the bottom of the door, and he sees this little legless beggar man again. And then the screaming happens. And then in the cut, he's traveled to Washington, D.C. He's getting checked into his hotel. There's obviously something wrong with the man. He looks incredibly uncomfortable. The bellman has brought his bag up, and he's trying to make small talk with the guy working for his tip. And the guy's just no selling this at all. He's not paying attention to the bellman at all. And so the bellman fiddles with a little wheel that we can see is the wheel of the little cart that the beggar man wheels himself around on, that is attached to the luggage, and makes his exit. And then as soon as he does that, something just lets loose inside this businessman, and all of his blood pours out of his body. And we don't really know what's happened just yet, but we can start to make some assumptions. And the only clue that we have that he was ever infested by this little man is red eyes, which is a recurring theme with all the victims.
And the beggar is actually played by Deep Roy, who some of you may know as all of the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
R2-D2, he was Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, in the shots where we see Yoda in full shot where he's kind of moving around.
Mm-hmm.
And various other, did a lot of stunt work in various films over the years. But yeah, this particular visage of him really stood out. I didn't know he was when I saw this, but then when I saw him later in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I was like, that's Deep Roy. That's the guy from this episode of The X-Files. What we discover is Deep Roy really crawled in deep. They discover a lot of rectal trauma during the autopsy performed by Scully. And so that's pretty terrifying and awful to think that this little guy crawled up into a man to travel across the continent.
Yeah, that's some heavy flyer miles there.
Yeah. Not a pleasant flight for anybody involved, I can imagine. That doesn't really hold up, though, because we learn later on that he's this Indian mystic who not only has the ability to, I guess, squeeze into other people's bodies, but he can just mask his identity, put on a facade, look like someone else, even project an image.
Right. To the outside world.
Yeah,
That
he might even
isn't
be
there.
there and can show you an image and fool you to think that the person he's transmitting is there. So it kind of
Why go to the trouble
Right, yeah.
of crawling
yeah,
in that?
something I have wondered a lot. So before rewatching this for our discussion, I'd only seen this once when it first aired. So I had the memory of just that being what he did and that being how he attacked people and that being, again, terrifying.
enough.
Yeah. So I'm a little confused by all of that. But anyway, before we get there, the beggar mystic goes on a killing spree in Washington, D.C. He takes on the visage of a school janitor, and we see like a young kid kind of getting bullied by his class bully, and his dad breaks it up. And then the janitor follows the dad and the kid who's being bullied home. The kid sees Deep Roy, his beggar man, look in his bedroom, scares him. And of course, when his dad comes in, there's nobody in the room because he can hide himself. And then, wouldn't you know it, Deep Roy does it again, climbs in deep, kills the dad, and is still inside the body when the FBI arrive, and is still in the body when Scully autopsies the dad. Really,
She weighs the body and it's heavier than it should be. And
Right.
She can't figure out why.
she begins to disrobe the body, and she sees this swollen abdominal area that begins to writhe, a la Alien. I'm pretty sure that whole scene was inspired by the chest burster scene.
Yeah.
And she begins to cut it open. And of course, there's a terribly timed phone call that makes her look away,
Like there always is.
like there always is. And she knocks her gun off of the autopsy table that she had nearby in case her suspicions were correct. And there's a little man inside the dead man. So she looks away to grab her gun. She turns back. The chest cavity is open. There's nothing inside, but there's tracks on the floor, bloody tracks from where you see handprints and body marks where he's drug his little legless body around all the way to a supply closet where the blood trail ends. And when Scully opens it, there's nothing in there. But in the next cutaway, we see that he is there. So we learn that he can disguise himself
As nothing.
as nothing, just appear.
Yeah, so if you can do that, then why go to the trouble of inserting yourself into others in such a violent manner?
way. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just how Deep Roy's character got his kicks. So then the story continues with Deep Roy going back to work as the janitor, masquerading as the school janitor. But the bully from the earlier scene can see through the charade a little bit. He sees almost like static in the visage.
Interesting.
And knows there's something wrong with the janitor. And the janitor follows him home. He gets glimpses of who he really is. Janitor ends up killing the bully's mom. Then to get their revenge, the two kids, the bully and the bullied kid, I can't remember their names, team up to hunt him down in the school. And this happens on a stormy night, of course.
Of course.
Scully, I forget how she gets alerted, but Scully ends up at the school and there's a final showdown, and the fakir takes the form of the bullied boy, and it's just the word of the bully telling Scully, you got it, it's him. And Scully listens to her inner Mulder and
finally
takes a shot, and it is the fakir. We see a shot of Deep Roy's character, on the ground. This was season 8, so Mulder at this point in the show is MIA, and he's been replaced with Agent John Doggett. Doggett joined the team for the final 2 seasons of the original run, played by Robert Patrick, who of Terminator 2 fame at that point and many other things since then. I really liked the dynamic of those two characters, but in this time in the show, Scully was no longer the skeptic. She was this is how we have to think to solve this. And Doggett was the one who was like, I can't accept that there's a little guy crawling into people and killing people.
Right.
So it was very traumatic for Scully to give in to that inner Mulder and shoot this kid, because she could just see this as a kid, when in reality it was something much darker. They did a little bit to explain they brought in this additional character to give us the exposition on who Deep Roy's character is and these Indian mystics that he represented. They gave a little bit of backstory because this one guy seems to know everything about this tiny little group of mystics in India, and that a chemical explosion killed a mystic's father, and that might be his motivation for revenge. But they didn't really do a good job of fleshing out why he was doing this, what sparked this. So I felt it was, on the second watch, I really felt it was kind of lacking in the story part of it.
Yeah.
But it does end in a way that a lot of X-Files episodes end. Back at the Mumbai airport 2 weeks later, another American businessman is getting ready to go home. And wouldn't you know it, there's this squeaky wheel sound, and
What could that be?
a little beggar man looking a little worse for wear, staring him down. So I guess there were other businessmen to track down and execute for this chemical spill. What did you think of Badla?
Honestly, it wasn't one of my favorites personally.
Yeah.
Like you said, just all the plot holes of why are you hitching a ride in people when you can just make everybody see what you want.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that he never talks, I understand it, but I felt like it was kind of too little.
Yeah.
There was no communication of any kind. So,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
wanted a little more.
So, like I said, in my memory, it was a terrifying episode with a terrifying monster. But on rewatch, not so much. Yeah. But that's probably the case with a lot of the X-Files that I've only watched once. I've watched most of the conspiracy episodes a second time, trying to figure out what the heck went on. And some of the, more Monsters of the Week. I haven't gone back through the entire series. So at some point I'll have to do that, and I'll probably walk away just hating the show if I do that. But it stands as one of my favorites. If I hadn't already said this is my pick, I'm going to go with this one as my second Monster of the Week, I probably would have went back and picked a different monster. But since we were already doing our homework and our legwork to rewatch these before we talked tonight, I was like, all right, I'm just going to leave it as is, and I'll take that one on the chin.
Imagine a killer who can squeeze into anything.
He's here, but he's not.
What do you mean he's not there?
Or anyone.
What if something was living inside the victims?
The X-Files, all new at 9, 8 Central, Fox Sunday.
What was your favorite part of the Mulder and Scully dynamic?
Probably that they always, no matter what the quarrel was or crazy thing Mulder was trying to do and Scully's just shaking her head, that deep down inside they really trusted and loved each other. Like deeper than a romantic thing or deeper than anything like that. Like it was a true, we're in this together.
Yeah. When the shit hits the fan, they knew they'd have each other's back.
Yeah.
And just like you said, the trust there, the chemistry, the witty banter back and forth, they just complemented each other so well as characters, because one always could fill in the gaps that the other one was lacking.
And if one of them was in trouble or missing or in danger or something, the other one wasn't going to sleep until they were found. Hands down, nothing else mattered.
Yeah. Scully got a lot stronger as the show went on, because in the beginning she was kind of whiny, especially when she's arguing with Mulder, and then she got more, she found her voice as the show went on. Maybe it's just performance of the character or better writing. I'm not really sure, but the character grew a lot.
Yeah.
And when she took on kind of the lead role in season 8, I thought her and Robert Patrick played well together. I liked that pairing. And I liked that Scully was more open. Did you like Robert Patrick, John Doggett?
I did. I feel like it took people a while to kind of warm up to him, because it was like, well, nobody's going to replace Mulder. You can't.
Right. And they weren't trying to.
Right. But it's kind of what it feels like.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, hey, here's this other guy. Like, who else could it be?
Right. Yeah. There were some contract disputes throughout season 7 that had to do with, I think it was, the show was going into syndication, and they've been doing it for 7 years. And David Duchovny had kind of had his fill of the show. And so he was in a very limited role in season 8 and season 9. So they needed somebody to jump in and be that sounding board for Scully. They ended up adding a second agent in season 9, played by Annabeth Gish. I can't remember her character. Monica Reyes, yeah. I thought they all made a good team. There was something lacking when Mulder wasn't there, but I liked, it kept it interesting. It
got the job done.
Yeah.
It got the job done. It wasn't Mulder and Scully, but it got it done.
Yeah. And then Mulder and Scully would get a chance to do it again in this movie that we were hoping we were going to get to watch tonight, that took place, again, 6 years after the show ended, or came out 6 years after the show ended.
So hopefully when the director's cut does come out, if I want to believe, we can actually talk about it.
Oh, it's on the to-do list. Whenever it drops, we'll watch it and discuss. There's also some other exciting news about the X-Files. The cases are not closed just yet.
There's not?
There's actually hope for a revival series. Hulu has ordered a pilot from Ryan Coogler, the director of Creed, Black Panther, Sinners most recently, I believe, the vampire flick. And Ryan for years has said he wanted to remake the X-Files. So he's put together a cast. It includes Himesh Patel and Danielle Deadwyler. I don't think they're actually going to be Mulder and Scully, but they're those stepping into those archetypal roles.
Successors.
Yes, spiritual successors. There you go. Steve Buscemi and Amy Madigan are also part of the cast. It's filming in Vancouver, but for right now, it's not a fully greenlit show. It's just a pilot. So if it's a success and a hit with the Hulu execs, we may see some new X-Files cases on the horizon.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, the internet is ablaze with the critiques of the casting so far, as they always are when there's
that's nothing new.
Yeah. They probably hated David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson when the show was first announced in 1993, but we didn't have Twitter at that time for them to.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, in established fandoms, I get so agitated with the folks who are just unwilling to see things change, when I'm just happy that the book's not over yet. There's another chapter that, and it may not be great. It may not be something I enjoy, but I don't have to. I still have 9, 11 seasons, if you want to count the revivals, that I can go back and rewatch and re-enjoy, but I'm happy that they're keeping it alive to keep interest in it, keep
a fresh take, new people getting involved. So maybe they'll like that and then go back and rewatch the originals.
Right. And restart the conversation, have some new fans to discuss what we were discussing tonight, what we loved about this show.
Yeah, a whole plethora of new fans that want to believe.
Yeah, Neil, thanks for hitting the rewind button with me. Thank you for hitting the rewind button
Indeed.
with us. Neil, what are you into these days? Where can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Just released a film that I scored on Lifetime starring Stana Katic called Kidnapped in Her Own Home, the Martha Corella story, which it's based on a novel by Anne Rule called The Painter's Wife. So that is streaming, and that was a lot of fun to do. And I also have Paranormal Investigations that is going to be streaming at the end of July. So check that out.
All right, just in time for spooky season, you're going to be getting a new paranormal show. Neil is a film composer, if you haven't guessed. He's also making the music that you're listening to right now as we rock out of here. Neil, always a pleasure chatting with you about the X-Files. I look forward to more conversations to come and a recap of the director's cut of X-Files, I want to believe, whenever it finally makes its way to Disney Plus.
Can't wait.
Yeah, looking forward to it.